So, Larry, here is the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. You know already the name of the famous artist and the school and the city. So I will not mention those specifics, but the story is entirely true, and the I in the story is truly the I talking to you, albeit some 50 or more years later. Interpreting the truth of the story's ending might involve some verification, but you are a historian, so I can leave that to you. I lived my teenage years in a huge house facing the science building of the old college on the old campus. Before my family lived there, the house had been the home of the founder of a book publishing empire known worldwide. Well, surely known to you, Larry. Incidental to this story, but of interest, is the fact that the great artist had married a daughter of that book publisher, though I did not know that when I lived in what was likely her childhood home. But I knew stuff about the great artist. My own father greatly admired his work and informed me he was one of perhaps the 10 best etchers in the world. And living across from the college, I wandered its halls and buildings long before I became a student there. A few of his etchings and pen drawings graced the walls of the old library reading room, and I often contemplated them. But that is not the rest of the story, so let me get to it. In my 16th summer, finding a decent paying job was daunting, but luckily my second cousin Jay Jr., himself a 17-year-old, found one for me. His father was looking to paint the wooden portions of his largely brick home, and he was willing to take a chance by hiring his son and his son's friend and shirt-tail relative to do the job. Jay and I did a first-rate, truly fine, bang-up job of painting that house. We washed and scraped wherever needed and loaded the wood with primer coats and finished them off with layers of pale yellow paint. The balcony on the upper story of the alley side of the house was a special challenge. Getting round the dowels that graced the railing round the porch was a tough cleaning task. Jay Jr. and I solved that by removing each and every dowel, blow-torching them clean of paint, sanding them anew, applying all the coats the dowels could absorb, and then reaffixing them between the upper and lower railings. That finished the paint job, and Jay Jr.'s dad, Jay, checked it all over and paid us both money and compliments. Jay Jr. and I spent the rest of the summer in holiday play, having made enough money to get through part of the next year of high school. Now, to fully understand this story, you must know the proximity of Jay Jr.'s house to the house of the great artist. You can easily see it on Google Earth. The two houses are on a small street round the corner of the campus from my house. The street bears the college name, and the two houses are separated, oddly, by an alleyway which links that street to the street I lived on. The separation between the two houses is such that the studio room, I was told this later, of the great artist, faces directly the balcony of that second-story porch we so carefully painted, or perhaps I should say deconstructed. Jay Jr. later told me the subsequent facts. Sometime later, the great artist walked round to Jay Jr.'s house to inform the father that his son and I had committed an unforgivable artistic crime. When reassembling the doweled balcony, we had inserted every dowel between the porch railings upside down. Jay Jr.'s dad, it seems, was either not an avid art fan or perhaps not a fan of the great artist. The two men walked into the alley to check out our work. And it was true. The dowels did look a bit as if they were standing on their heads. "There's no way on earth I can work in my office when every time I look up, I see this disaster of a balcony," said the famous man. Jay Jr.'s dad thought about that, took another close look at the porch we had redesigned, and said, "Looks all right to me," and then he returned to his house. Almost the end of the story, except that, as I was told, very soon after, the great artist sold his house and moved out. Those two boys who didn't know up from down had made life on that alleyway impossible for him. Larry, I can't prove that his move was entirely caused by me and Jay Jr. This was back in the 60s, and for the past 45 years, I have lived with my family, and now the kids are grown with my wife in Nigeria and in Egypt. But most summers, we manage to make a short trip to that city of my childhood and to the area near the old college and my old home. And on several occasions, I have taken the trouble to drive past the alleyway where the two houses still stand. The dowels on that second floor balcony are still upside down. And that's the rest of this story.